Last, when President Obama tried to use executive action as it related to immigration, you said the whole concept of executive order, it's not the way the country's supposed to be run. You said you're supposed to go through Congress and make a deal. Will you concede that you were unable to make the deal that you had promised in the past, and that the deal you're ending up with now from Congress is less than what you could have had before a 35-day shutdown?
I went through Congress. I made a deal. I got almost $1.4 billion when I wasn't supposed to get $1. Not $1. He's not going to get $1. Well, I got $1.4 billion, but I'm not happy with it. I also got billions and billions of dollars for other things. Port of entries, lots of different things. The purchase of drug equipment, more than we were even requesting. In fact, the primary fight was on the wall. Everything else we have so much, as I said, I don't know what to do with it. We have so much money. But on the wall, they skimped. So I was successful in that sense, but I want to do it faster. I could do the wall over a longer period of time. I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster. And I don't have to do it for the election. I've already done a lot of wall for the election, 2020. And the only reason we're up here talking about this is because of the election, because they want to try and win an election, which it looks like they're not going to be able to do. And this is one of the ways they think they can possibly win, is by obstruction and a lot of other nonsense. And I think that I just want to get it done faster. That's all.
I just want to get it done faster. And the comment, I didn't need to do this. I just wanted to get it done faster. I mean, the entire answer screams politics. It screams campaign. It screams exactly what we've been saying. This is, again, he created his own political crisis with his base, in his own head in this case. I mean, while you have the grass tops that are cranky on the right about this, the base is with him. The base is going to stay with him. He is afraid to lead his base. That is what today is probably the most telling thing. He is afraid to lead his base. And that's what he decided. And people around him have told him, you don't need to do this. Your base isn't going to run away from you on this. They do believe you're fighting. But he has decided to create his own political emergency, and he had to now create a national emergency in order to deal with what has become a self-inflicted political emergency in his own head on the right.
Chuck Todd, it's a pleasure to have your analysis and perspective on the show. I know you have to get ready for MTP Daily. We'll see you there. We will also see you on Sunday, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.